The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Josh Gagala from Voltoro,
Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen around the world.
Juan Galt from PhoneHodl.com,
Howdy.
Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor,
Hey.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, Black Market High. According to the New York Times, these are not the best of times for the fledgling cryptocurrency known as Bitcoin. The Times claims that the price is down, the exchange volume has dropped, nobody is buying anything, they're certainly not donating, and that the only part of Bitcoin that is flourishing is its use on the illegal darknet markets. Josh Gagala, I ask you, is Bitcoin only good for buying things on darknet markets?
No, but it's very good at it. I don't think there's anything that it can't buy. It's just that a lot of these countries have made it very, very hard to consume some whatever the people want to consume, and instead of regulating it properly, they've just outlawed it. So they made it very hard to get. So what are you going to use? You're going to use the native currency of the internet, where you can actually give feedback to a drug dealer. Now you try giving feedback or to standing on the street corner and saying, no, this guy cut the the cocaine with whatever else. You'll get shot. Pretty much, that's the end game. Whereas on the dark markets, you can actually give feedback, and everyone says no, and you get all these university nerds testing their LSD and the DMT out on on the high-tech equipment and giving proper feedback, and drugs actually got to the level of high-grade pharmaceuticals in terms of quality because of these markets. I think it's only done good. What governments should really do is regulate them properly, police them properly, make them a medical issue instead of a criminal issue. And you would see a massive drop in illegal use of Bitcoin, if that's what they're worried about. But instead, you've got to go after Bitcoin instead of going after the actual root cause.
I definitely agree with you that it's an issue of demand, but I'm excited to see feedback raised as well. A problem with the current black markets, not enough feedback. Hunter S. Thompson famously, when he ran for sheriff, promised to punish bad drug dealers by putting them in the stocks on the courthouse lawn. Bad drug dealers. Juan Galt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing, the war on drugs. As far as anybody, like, ask any libertarian, at least they'll give you 20 reasons with sources as to how the war on drugs has been a failure. And some of these drugs are innocuous, right? Like some of it is weed, some of it are things like LSD and maybe MDMA and such. The quality is reportedly much better, right? And people are going to want to buy it, and people are going to find a way to buy it. So that's the way that it is. I think that I'm not for all drug legalization. I think there is such a thing as addictive poison, right? And you have been people, like, countries have used drugs to take down other civilizations before. The British Empire did it against the Chinese, and the opium trade wars and stuff like that. So, like, some of this stuff is dangerous and it's not good for people and it does rot their brain. But that's not Bitcoin's fault. That's proof that Bitcoin works. It's proof that Bitcoin is censorship resistant. And America has been on a path to weaponize their financial system and use it as a way to control the marketplace for the past few decades. And people are getting sick of it. And Bitcoin is just one kind of response to that. Plus, I mean, if the United States is going to be the ones that determine what gets to be traded and what doesn't get to be traded, I don't know that I want to trust a government that can't keep somebody like Jeffrey Epstein alive, for more than like a couple of weeks, right? How are we going to trust a government like that with the marketplace of the world? I think people are getting sick of it. And, this New York Times article on Bitcoin being used for drugs. Yeah, that's one of the things you can do with it. I think I think Americans have a bit of a dilemma with Bitcoin because they can get most of the things that are legal. They can get them with debit cards. They don't really need Bitcoin as a medium of exchange right now. But that's just something we have to accept, right? But hopefully in the future, I don't know. I mean, other countries probably will need it, and the store of value is definitely showing up as a more important use case. So yeah.
Human beings can be so difficult to keep alive. Just like plants, they need sunlight, water, and air. Opium wars is a good example, but Portugal legalized all drugs and had nothing but success with it. Let's go to Crypto Raptor. Your thoughts?
Unmute. Yeah, I think you made a really good point about the review system that was on Silk Road, and also I heard that there were instructions given with the drugs as well, so it's not like you get it off some hooky matey on the street and you start tripping balls and then don't know what to do. At least like there's information there on what to do if you trip out and stuff like that, which I think is really helpful, and it's really it's similar to what they do at like Glastonbury now, which is that they have like a drug testing place, so you can just go and take your beans and stuff, and they'll like test it for you and tell you how much you're going to get mashed, and then you don't even get arrested. Not that I've ever used that, by the way. But the thing is with with Bitcoin, it's going to be used as a tool. It's going to be used by nefarious people to do nefarious things. So is cash, so is goats, millions, thousands of years ago, whatever, they've traded goats, and people use goats for nefarious things. And we didn't see goats get banned, or at least maybe not in certain, most countries. So yeah, I think it's just ridiculous, that argument, that and also about privacy. Why have encryption? Why have any encryption on any of your stuff if you you have nothing to hide, but you still encrypt your stuff, and everyone does, even if they've got nothing to hide? So why not be able to have completely limitless and P2P money? It's just crazy.
Moving on to the exit question. Destroying the Silk Road and locking up Ross Ulbricht in jail for life has made Americans safer and had a devastating impact on the online drug trade. True or false? Josh Gagala.
Absolutely false. The Silk Road is tiny compared to the black markets that are online now. The Silk Road was really just the first experiment, and now you have really dangerous ones. And the thing is, you kill one that was actually pretty good as far as I could see. I'm not the typical customer, but from what I could read and see, and philosophically, I resonated with them, that they didn't allow certain things. Like they didn't allow guns. They had a separate one called the Armory, but that was run by itself. And they didn't allow child porn. They didn't allow anything. All that would be banned. And this the rule was pretty much, if you sold something that you would hurt someone else with, then it's not sold. But if you're hurting yourself, then that's fine. There is some philosophical things there, because you do end up hurting your families when you are addicted to drugs. But again, this isn't something that gets better when you just ban it. These people need help. It's a healthcare issue. If someone had schizophrenia, you don't just ban schizophrenia, you help them. Don't just say, that's banned, throw you in jail. You've got schizophrenia, throw you in jail. Like, it's just ludicrous.
I agree. I think the government could have run it.
Yeah,
nationalized it. They actually did run it for a while. Remember, after they took it over with their agents, they let it run as a honeypot. Even though it was such a great harm to the people, they still let it run for like 30 days or something. So a lot of those harms that they put on Ross were actually on the government. And they could have had a centralized drug market they could have controlled. They could have even kept it on the dark market, or just let normal websites access it. Juan Galt,
yeah.
True or false? Made America safer.
Definitely didn't make it safer. I mean, people are going to find drugs. People have been buying drugs with whatever they can for as long as animals get high, like tigers get high on certain plants. People, like living creatures, like to experience altered states of consciousness, and they're going to keep trying to do it. And whether it's Bitcoin or cash, the dark market or on the streets, they're gonna find a way. It's not a problem of how you're paying for it. It's a problem of culture in a sense, and I think, like drug addiction is really bad. It really does hurt the families, but junkies like will do anything to get a hit. Like heroin addicts, crack addicts, they'll do anything to get a hit. They'll fucking even figure out how to use Bitcoin to get a hit, much less go and do anything else, go rob smug somebody, right? So I think, the Silk Road had libertarian ideals, right? It was a harm reduction, had a higher harm reduction ideals behind it. It didn't sell weapons, it didn't sell bombs, it didn't, it actually had a policy on it. And by cutting the head of the Hydra, 100 new snakes appeared, right? And they're gonna keep playing whack-a-mole with this for the rest of the history of the internet until they find a different solution. But they like this. I mean, hasn't the CIA been busted selling drugs, multiple times now, in these dark markets, controlling puppeteering in the background, moving drugs up and down Latin America, right? Like, it's a joke.
The CIA manufactured and sold crack cocaine to fund their war in the Iran-Contra affair during the 1980s, as well as perhaps growing heroin in Afghanistan. Crypto Raptor, your thoughts on Ross Ulbricht and making America safer?
Well, I thought so. So whack-a-mole was I even wrote that down as like a note. It definitely is whack-a-mole. Like, and I think the snake's head, cutting the snake. That's a really good analogy. The fact is, like, people are always going to go and do something crazy over, whether an addiction in some way, whether that is. Sorry, I've got an automatic light. For goodness sake. Come back on. Anyway, the fact is they're just going to find it even harder, or try even harder to get whatever it is they're going for, whatever drug it is. So actually, by making it more accessible, you're reducing the barrier to entry, and you're probably making them safer people because it's easier for them to get their drugs and get their hit without hurting other people. So I think there's a lot of ups and downs, and the fact is that, like, Portugal legalized loads of drugs, or all drugs. There's no sort of problem. There's certainly no reporting like that there's loads of druggies on the street or whatever, which you'd hear sensationalized if that was the case, or even there was just a whiff of it getting worse. So I think there's some other good examples in countries that have been, legal, let drugs be legal and let them be accessible, and it hasn't sort of, hasn't made the countries go crazy. So it's sensible that you take so much crime off the streets because you just eliminate what that crime was, and you generate loads of revenue because loads of drug dealers now can set up legitimate businesses. It's like an entirely logical thing.
Ross Ulbricht embarrassed the government by creating a market where you could sell large amounts of cannabis for large amounts of money with no violence. Then they imprisoned him, perhaps for multiple years, allegedly till the end of his life. We can only hope that Queen Ivanka will pardon him in the future. Moving on to issue 2. Issue 2, Outbreak. In the People's Republic of China, despite valiant attempts, the coronavirus continues to spread. Meanwhile, in America, people want to make money. In a recent article, Forbes magazine outlines how to use Bitcoin's status as a safe haven asset and its unique superpower that it can be carried across borders with total secrecy, give it the ability to act as an indicator for how bad it might be in China. If the Bitcoin price goes up, more people are trying to buy Bitcoin and flee. However, if the price falls, the opposite may be true, and mankind may be saved from a total cataclysmic disaster. Josh Gagala, do you buy this theory?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, Bitcoin's a really good price. It's a really good mechanism to determine risk because its main use case is to kind of like be the digital gold. And that is traditionally what you do with gold is if there is an existential risk to life or family or lifestyle, then you would hide that money or protect that money in an asset that is hard to confiscate or especially from when everything turns to total chaos. So yeah, I think it is a good mechanism for seeing that. but I also think this whole outbreak is overblown and crazy. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to get a grip of really the danger of it. It seems to me like the only people really at risk are old people and very, very young, small children. I think healthy, normal people, and so I don't know how over the top this is. I mean, it seems that there must be some legitimacy to the crazy scariness of it, because they are going to such measures. But it does seem over the top somehow, because coronaviruses, it's not a new thing.
They are the only ones who.
Sorry, it's not a
measures, and I'm not sure that the WHO or any of the medical organizations have even said that these measures are necessary or even really productive. They've shut down entire cities. They've shut down air travel to China. Like we've closed them in a laboratory. I don't know virus-wise if that's going to make the virus stronger or weaker, if that's going to develop more or less antibodies. But the quarantine is very real, and it's something that no one else is capable of doing. So they're trying it. It's a big test for everyone.
It's a big test, and really, it's too late. I mean, it's all over the world. It's going to spread quickly. At the end of the day, we're going to see it live its life, and then it'll probably pop out and fizzle, and then in a couple of years, some new variety of a corona will pop up. And you've got to remember, guys, folks out there, corona isn't just this one. It's a family of viruses, and we have many of them. SARS was one, and it was a lot more deadly, except it wasn't that easy to catch as this one. This one's extremely easy to catch. So it's quite symptomless in its period where you can catch it. So that's kind of scary, but I really think it is more for the weak that cannot, the elderly or the young children or babies that can be deadly for. So I'm not sure.
Juan Galt.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting as far as using the price of Bitcoin to correlate the coronavirus, sort of contain, China's capacity to contain it. I'm looking at the volume of local Bitcoins in China specifically, and it's actually lower than it's been for a while. Like, it's not, they had a big peak in 2017, and it's actually on its way down as far as denominated in yen. So I don't really see any evidence that people are using it as a, that it's somehow picking up because of the coronavirus. You're seeing higher, exponential volume in Argentina, Venezuela, Chile, but not in China. China's actually pretty low volume. So people, it's funny how the news media will start to report on Bitcoin, and I think it's actually proof that we're entering the bull market, and that's maybe a segue, an early segue to a topic we're going to talk a little bit later on. But it's good clickbait, but I don't really see a correlation. I don't think we're there yet. So I don't buy it. As far as the coronavirus, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but people are definitely freaking out about it. So that's even more scary that people are freaking out about it than the actual thing. I'm definitely going to be careful on this trips, especially all the traveling that's coming this year, wearing face masks and stuff, because who knows, right?
Well, I did read some reports about that. The face mask, while very popular and a major consumer item, I hear a lot of people are buying them in advance a few weeks ago and then selling them now for even more money. The main things are: wash your hands often, don't touch your face before washing your hands. If you see someone sick, don't stand within 3 feet of them, and just general precautions. I think that's the basic that I've read, and it's great.
If you see an Asian,
well, that's where it gets control. There's also this cultural thing that we should talk about while we have this, kind of responsibility here. We can influence some people, but in Asia, if you're wearing a mask, it means you're not sick and you don't want to get others sick. Whereas in Europe or perhaps America, if you're wearing a mask, it means you're already sick. So because of this cultural confusion, there is kind of a fear of just Asians wearing masks when they're trying to be polite, not to get you sick, even though they're not sick. I don't know. You hear what I'm saying, right?
Oh, it's the other way around. I think you confused it. In Asia, they're already sick, right?
No. In America,
and they're wearing the mask.
You only wear a mask if you're like really sick. It's like a last ditch.
Oh,
Where in Asia, they're wearing masks to try to not get sick, and it's just more common like to wear them, especially in public. Whereas in America, we even wearing a mask in public, you're almost robbing a bank. You're almost, have this like fine line between criminal behavior, which again, Hong Kong had to ban masks recently in the protests because they were trying to crack down on what they saw as criminal protest. And now, of course, masks are very popular with the coronavirus and so forth. But let's keep going. Do we talk to Dan Eve? We talk to Dan? All right. Let's move on to the exit question. Hey,
wait.
no, Dan, did we talk to you?
No. But okay, I'll only add a little bit. I don't think they're linked. It'll be cool if. Oh, what? Can you hear me? What did you say?
Go ahead. Sorry? Tell us about the virus and the crisis.
Oh yeah. Sorry, the only thing I'll add is that I saw the stats that did scare me today was the fact that there's, I think, 200. I think that right now there's 213 dead, and there's like 178 that they've said have recovered out of whoever's got it, which means out of the 391 that have ended it in some way, 54% of those are deaths. So that is a concerning figure, I think, and one to think about. But I won't add any more to this discussion. I'll let you sweat over that tonight.
Also, I think we have much better ways to visualize this disease than we've ever had before. We have much more information about it. We know exactly which province and how many cases. And they were saying in the chat, 7 cases in America, and it'll be like 3 in the UK. We just know so much. These things have happened before, like Josh said, SARS and bird flu and all these other pandemics. And I agree, they're completely scary and no one wants a pandemic. But we know so much more, so much faster. I've seen this chart with like the explosion of the number of infected people, and it looks really scary to me, but I don't have any real information to understand this chart because I'm not really a virologist or an immunologist. I don't really know like, oh, there's 30 cases here, there's 50 cases, what that means, like how viral it is. And they show all these other things, and you're watching the media, you don't know. I think that the basics we've covered. They're saying in the chat, vitamin C is good as well. Vitamins, wash your hands, be healthy, stay away from sick people. And yeah, if you're traveling, like I'm going to be traveling soon, then, well, great, you're taking a chance. But just, same thing in the airport. Let's not touch a bunch of dirty stuff. Let's stay away from dirty people. And if you're sick, stay home. If you're, sorry to be rude, but if you're sick, don't infect other people. Well, again, it's a libertarian. I have the right to go infect other people. Well, in this case, it would be really bad. And again, everyone's going to look at you bad, especially. And again, we get in trouble here. But yeah, like, imagine if you were, a person of Chinese descent and you were sick and you go out in the world right now. I mean, even just allergies or whatever. It's a bad time. It's a bad time. I would just avoid it personally. But moving on. Did you know the World Crypto Tour 2020? Learn more at worldcryptonetwork.com. We hope to go to conferences like Unconfiscatable in Las Vegas, Majorca Blockchain Days in Spain, CoinFest UK in the UK, and just announced the Transylvania Bitcoin Conference in Romania. Learn more about these conferences and join us there in 2020 World Crypto Tour. Also, the World Crypto Network has a podcast with audio versions. Moving on to issue 3, bull market. According to Fundstrat's Thomas Lee, a famous Bitcoin bull who stuck to his predictions of $25,000 Bitcoin the entire time Bitcoin was going down and ruining all of our life savings, is now back again, letting us know that Bitcoin has gone up enough and now it's done going down and will instead go up and up and up forever. It's back above the 200-day moving average and is basically unstoppable. Juan Galt, is Thomas Lee's prediction correct?
I don't know if he's right or not, but we're definitely up above the 200-day moving average. There's a lot of signs to say that we've bottomed, that we're breaking out. I'm looking at the chart right now. There's a major kind of like downwards triangle, and we're breaking out. I think we're probably like the bottom's probably in. I don't really see us touching 3K again. Some people say that we might. There's no guarantees in this, but I think it's a good sign that we're starting to get like FUD mainstream media articles, right? Like first we have the Nathaniel Proper New York Times hit piece, right? And that's actually, that's historically accurate, right? The bull market starts and the fake news begin. and Streisand effect. People are like, oh, Bitcoin, that's right, and they go look at the chart and they're like, maybe I should get some, right? Despite what the media's the content of the article actually is. Now they're talking about its relationship to the coronavirus. It's all press, and that's all attention that's coming to the market. I mean, I'm gonna do a quick little Google Trends analysis on Bitcoin, see if there's any growth. I mean, my feeling is that the bear market is pretty much over. It doesn't mean that we're going to go parabolic, but we certainly could go parabolic at any moment. Like, one of the things that has really surprised me in this market is that we had a month ago, there was a 2 days, like it's only like a 30-hour period where the price went up $2,000. And that's amazing. That means that the bridges to enter the market are so big that it can move the price $2,000 in a matter of less than 2 days. And
liquidity is so small. The bridge is so big, liquidity is so small.
Yeah. So I mean, the attention for Bitcoin, the Bitcoin term of Google Trends is pretty much flat right now compared with the all-time high of 2017. Actually, 2019 had a peak. 2019 June 23rd had a peak, and but it's generally just kind of like stable. It's not particularly going parabolic right now. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's the odds that we're over the bear market are better now, but there's no guarantees.
It's surprisingly simple, but Google Trends, the amount of people searching for Bitcoin, is actually a really good indicator of interest in Bitcoin. And if there was more interest, there was more buying, the price would go up. Let's go to Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic because we've got the halving coming up. So I'm slowly, prepping up for it. Obviously, because it is priced in. It's not. Well, who knows? Who knows whether it's priced in or not? But the halving's coming up. The fact is that Bitcoin infrastructure has been building in the scenes whilst it hasn't been in the media. So the next time that it hits a real big kind of media hype, there's going to be a lot more services out there for people to actually buy Bitcoin. It's going to be a whole lot easier. So this could actually feed into the fact that there's going to be another mega cycle coming. This sort of crescendo of like little things lining up. So yeah, the numbers are good. The exahash rates just going up. It's stable at a massive level. It's been just growing ever since Bitcoin started exponentially with the actual Bitcoin price as well. So I think it's going to be a good year.
Josh Kagala.
I mean, I'm always a permabull, but the thing is that Voltoro clients, they chat a lot and they've been buying a lot of gold recently, and I tend to find that they are very, very clever at what they do. For me, they pointed out that the 2017 high, like pretty much all of them. So and some of them are saying we could see back down to like 5,000 before we start seeing so. It's really, really hard to know. I think there's a definite great points being made by both Juan and CryptoRaptor here, but I do feel that there could be room for some down according to the community over at Voltoro. But yeah, as I said, I'm a permabull. I kind of buy when I can and sell when I can because I need to pay for rent and stuff. So I'm just sort of living in this. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. The community says down. I say sideways up.
I think that moves well into the exit question. The price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower? Juan Galt.
The price of Bitcoin will be closer to 10,000. We might touch 10,000 by the end of the week.
Dan Eve.
Next week.
I'm going to go for the big. I'm actually going to completely flip reverse it and say we're going to be 885.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to say 82.
And finally, the Magic 8 Ball. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher next week? Reply hazy. Try again. No, it's not satisfying. But it's
Do you get to try again?
No, that's it. And one call each week. Moving on to issue 4, bitch fight. Roger Vere's Bitcoin.com made a major announcement this week. Their popular mining pool would not be supporting the new bitch fork, aka bitch plus mining reward, instead sticking with their original vision, or bottom bitch. Vere was taken by surprise by the announcement, claiming that he was just along for the ride at this point, like some little bitch. Dan Eve, which bitch will be the top bitch? And what can Vere do, stuck between a bitch and a hard point?
There's only one top bitch, and there's many bottom bitches. And Butters from South Park would be able to, he'd be able to hustle them, but I think they've got no real kind of like value in the real world. Although it's really sad. What I see today again, like people giving Craig Wright a stage. It was like he's spoken at, I can't remember, something like Parliament or something like that. You're like, man, how's this still going on? Like, do they not go? You're behind this Bitcoin, but like, what about the real Bitcoin? Yeah, sure, or the one that's doing well right now. Well, obviously, the other one is, but only because it's been artificially pumped. But surely, they need to ask those questions and be really, if they're serious about getting someone in crypto involved, they've got to get a legitimate source who's not kind of not just controversial, but just anyway. I can't remember what the original question was. I completely digressed.
Down with bitch. On to Josh.
Down with bitch.
I mean, I actually, I like certain coins that have a treasury fund, but it has to be very well structured. I really love the concept that Dash really introduced, where you have a treasury and you don't only pay miners, but people can then ask for a certain thing from the masternodes, and they all vote and decide, yeah, a part of the block reward goes to this podcaster every month or every week. And I really like the idea. Maybe it hasn't been done perfectly yet, but I don't think this was anything close to that. It was kind of controlled by people, mainly Chinese miners. It seemed like a terrible idea. I think at the end of the day, Bitcoin hasn't had that, and it's been successful so far. Bitcoin, the original BTC, really hasn't had that, so I don't think it's fully needed. I think it does help if you're an altcoin.
Well, and certainly,
I think it helps if you're an altcoin.
Have a treasury, because wouldn't we have to agree upon it beforehand? Like this whole agreeing upon it later on and changing the terms of the agreement to take 12.5%. Why not 13? Why not 15? Why not 10? How did we decide all of this? I think that's where we're going with this, right?
Yeah. There should have been a mechanism for miners to vote on this stuff, but even then, I mean, we're seeing a halving coming up. I presume BCH and BSV are also halving. I think miners are going to really struggle. We saw this in Litecoin. It really, the halving, when Bitcoin halves, it generally it's always gone up in price. And that's because the network effect is there. Litecoin, everyone was thinking, ooh, we're going to see a massive pump. We saw a pump leading up to it, but afterwards, which was just a speculatory pump. But in terms of utility pump, of actual usage and it going up in price because more people are using it and there's less supply, didn't play out, and we saw Litecoin falling in value. And I feel that if they taxed BCH by that amount, as well as having the halvening coming up, I don't think they've got any chance at all. So I mean, we'll see what happens. See them play out.
Juan Galt, if I sold you on bigger blocks, but really I wanted a 12.5% cut of every block, is that the same thing?
In big cash land, it might be. In bitch land, it might be the same thing. Weird. I can't claim to be paying attention to it. I mean, I'm kind of seeing things here and there. I think Roger Ver is probably saving face at this point. He's presented himself as anarchist sort of king and anarchist sort of archetype, Mr. Anarchy for a long time, and to support something that looks like a tax and smells like a tax. it's not in character for him. So it makes perfect sense that he would back out. As far as, I mean, if this is a minor
we're not
led
so sure
effort.
that Roger's against this though. We're seeing that Bitcoin.com, which Roger uses, which he like pays for and kind of runs, but maybe has a mind of its own, has broken off. Roger still seems to be one of those three people, along with BTC Top and Jihan and whoever it is, who thinks this 12.5% not agreed upon, all of a sudden tax after the fact is just fine. It's hilarious. Go ahead, Juan. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. You know, like they're playing very small games that don't have very good potential. I think one of the interesting things that I saw about this was in the 5 hours of the fork or something like that, where there wasn't a block, like there was like a proof of work. I guess that the fork happened, and so there's very low proof of work on the main big BCH chain. And in 5 hours of no blocks, they only filled the block to like 2.3 megabytes. So nobody's using this thing. At least, there's not that's not a good sign. Maybe people were like being cautious or whatever. That's a possibility. I'm bored by it. I mean, I think they're playing very small games. It's very obvious to me the moment that they forked that by setting the precedent to fork off Bitcoin, they're going to keep forking and they're going to cannibalize each other. And that's what we've seen. So Bitcoin Cash forked off of them. Then there was like an attempted fork. I don't know if it succeeded. There was the Bitcoin Cash Classic, right? And then there was a BSV, and the BSV I think forked again, and now Bcash is gonna fork again. So it's just there's like 7 forks. It's a fraction. They're splattering. It's like you threw a glass at a wall and there's 100 little shards, and it's an exercise in futility. As far as the funding model, I mean, I'm not paying a lot of close attention to Dash in the past couple of years, but when I was paying very close attention, what I saw was a lot of marketing being funded, some development. They haven't really, Dash was promising evolution since forever with all these great features. That didn't come through as far as I can tell. They ended up rebranding evolution. And what ended up happening is they just funded a lot of marketing, paid marketers, right? And that didn't really seem to really catch on either. It turns out that store of like medium of exchange is really difficult to achieve, and not even with the war chest that Dash has had at times had they been able to move the needle that much. I mean, they'll argue that they didn't have that much marketing money, but compared to Bitcoin, right, or compared to other currencies, like the best kind of marketing turns out is just organic marketing. And if the miners really want to contribute 12.3%, let them contribute that voluntarily to development instead of sort of forcing everybody else to play ball. So I mean, it all doesn't make any sense to me. I think they should just take a step back, smoke some weed, contemplate the meaning of their lives, and maybe return to Bitcoin open source.
For me, this whole splitting thing has seemed a lot like the movie Reservoir Dogs. You're in a gang with a whole bunch of other criminals, and once you start splitting off, there's no end to the splitting off. As they said in Reservoir Dog, you've got 5 guys, nobody knows who anybody else is, and they're all fighting over who gets to be Mr. Black. And they're going to kill each other over this because nobody knows who anybody else is. And from the very beginning, when they broke off and we kind of waved goodbye to Roger, we said, sorry, Roger, I wish you weren't doing this. And he went off in hand with Craig Wright and I don't know, Calvin Ayre and all these other kind of people and the split people and all these, I forget the names. That might not be the right guy, but they went off on their happy way. And then a few months later, suddenly Satoshi's vision needed to exist and BSV split off from the main bitch faction. And it was really a devastating blow because once you had split off for no good reason, as we saw, the original Bitcoin is still running fine. The 2x Bitcoin crashed. The BCH has had many problems. BSV has had problems. The bigger block implementation, the blocks aren't being used. There's no reason for the bigger blocks. All of these things, why you stick with the original chain, why you stick with the original project. But then to see them just devastated when fake Satoshi split off again, and then now to have the miners once again, who could you trust? You can't trust the Chinese miners to split off and decide that they should pay themselves a 12.5% tax. Is really just a fatal distraction, because if you can split for any reason, and that's kind of what they argued with their split, they're like consensus, agreement, scientific discussion. We want bigger blocks. then when it came along, we want even bigger blocks. They split again. We want a 12.5% tax. They split again. So if your structure is so anti-fragile, it's just way too fragile. So let's move on to the exit question. Life's a bitch and then you die. With bitch infighting rising to the level of splitting in two, Bitcoin Gold being attacked, 51% attacked multiple times, and BSV's bizarre price swings, which of the pathetic Bitcoin copies is the worst? Dan Eve.
I think they're all just as bad as each other, but the point about them shattering into a million pieces is that they're never as big as the original piece that was there, and that just, I think, to me, makes Bitcoin stand out even more, because the more the prices of these other ones are diluted, the more in the long run, Bitcoin is going to just scale way ahead, and just stand out even more. So they're all terrible, really. And like you said, the best, I think, really good point. It's still going. Like, it's the only one that hasn't had like major problems. It's still got that 99 point ding dong up percent. That's the Bitcoin. That's the main chain, and it's so far outperformed the others, not just in price, but also in the fact that it's a sturdy platform.
Josh Gagala.
I mean, I think price determines the worst, because projects that have value will gain value, and ones that don't will fall flat. And you can only scam people for so long. You might have a high price for a little bit, but that doesn't mean that you're successful. A high price for a long period of time determines success and a project that has real value. Everything else is just market manipulation, and I think that's playing out over and over again. I mean, we see that with BSV. These extreme pumps are a manipulation. I'm not saying you shouldn't jump on them if you see them and make money off them. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying be very, very wary of it. Don't fall to FOMO when you see massive pumps and jump on behind, because a lot of them, BSV is not on the main exchanges anymore, because they all kicked them off after Craig Wright started suing everyone. So they're on a very few exchanges with very low liquidity, and these exchanges allow for massive manipulation by Calvinaire, who's pretty much the only miner in this project. And on BSV front, I haven't been keeping too much of an eye, but so at the end of the day, look, I don't wish malice on any project. Price and markets determine value over a long period of time, not over the short term. So if something can hold its own for several years, then I think, well, there's obviously a need for it. I might not see it, like in XRP. I don't see the value in XRP, but obviously a lot of people seem to, and have decided over like 7 years now that it does have some sort of value. I mean, they've pivoted a lot, but in terms of which Bitcoin fork is, it's definitely, I think Bitcoin Diamond is probably the worst of I don't know, Bitcoin Gold. I know they've destroyed our search thing. When people search for Bitcoin and gold, they used to find Voltoro, now they find some shit coin, so that's annoying. But yeah.
It'll happen more and more. Bitcoin with any random word attached to it. Juan Galt.
I don't know, man. I think they're trying to figure that out themselves. Which fake Bitcoin is the fakest of them all. you have I don't know. I'm really torn about this. Like, what's worse, a obviously fake scam Bitcoin, which is Satoshi's vision, pretending to be the true vision of Satoshi. Bitcoin Cash, which is a fake Bitcoin that actually believes they're the true vision of Satoshi. I'm not really sure which one's worse, intentional scammery or drinking your own Kool-Aid. And then Bitcoin Gold was kind of a entertaining flop. I mean, they proved that, even like, I think Bitcoin Gold had like good intentions. They were actually trying to do a GPU mineable Bitcoin, but then they got, probably, this is alleged and speculative and maybe not true, and I don't have proof of it, but maybe they got double spent by Craig Wright and Calvinaire. over their little spat 2 weeks before in like one of their conferences or whatever.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
Bitcoin Diamond was like a flash in the media and then just disappeared. It's just complete crap. So like this is the best attempt that anybody has had at counterfeiting Bitcoin, and a small portion of the population of this market have bought in. But for the most part, the price of these things is completely artificial. It's only up there in market cap because most people don't know how to sell, and a big portion of the Bitcoin has been lost. And so that supply that's not being sold is not being sold not because of HODL, it's not being sold because it can't be sold. And so it's sort of stuck there at a price. It's all smoke and mirrors, I think. And there's no decentralization. There's not even a pretense of decentralization, right? Like Calvin Ayre and these guys, they run the show, right? And what can you even say? They're trying to outdo themselves in the fakest of them all.
What I think so great about this is the way that Bitcoin Gold or Bitcoin Diamond got a little notoriety and success, and soon everyone was making a Bitcoin precious metals coin, Bitcoin silver, Bitcoin rhodium, Bitcoin oxygen. I don't know, whatever it is. I'd like to see this continue with maybe fruits like Bitcoin apple, Bitcoin banana, Bitcoin cherry. Oh, I think Bitcoin cherry is a really good coin. Oh yeah, but it's nothing compared to Bitcoin banana. So this will keep going.
Bitcoin bananas all the way.
All the way. But let's move on to prediction or story of the week. Juan Galt, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Well, the most interesting thing I have seen this week, I think, has to be this website called phneep.com. Can I do a little screen share right now? Is that doable?
We know Philippe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Phneep.com has like a Bitcoin propaganda. This might be old news, but it's got some amazing posters like Bitcoin. Like, they all look like Soviet era or like 1920s sort of America propaganda posters, like pre-war, mid-war, and they're beautiful. Some of them are really, really good. So I encourage people to check it out. I'll send you the link, Thomas, so you can share it or something like that. I really like this Bitcoin propaganda stuff.
Yeah,
that's all I got right now.
Here it is. Let's see.
Oh yeah, Unconfiscatable. It's gonna be great. That's it.
So here's some of Philippe's Bitcoin propaganda right here. Let's see. So there you go. Shitcoin. And optimize block space, batch Bitcoin transactions. Yeah, he's done a bunch of these. I think he does at least one a week. And these are, you're at the wheel, finally, Bitcoin. And of course, we all know about Philippe because he also does Mad Bitcoin's artwork. He's done the Mad Tour 4, Mad Tour 3, and we can scroll through. There's Mad Tour right there, and Spider-Man Mad Bitcoins. There's a bunch of great stuff. So yeah, shout out to Philippe. Way to go, on Galt. Shout out to a guy we already know. Woo, making us look good. All right, let's go to Dan Eve, prediction or a story of the week.
Okay, so I'm going to go for a story of the week, and so I did some testing for a coin actually called DGLD, which is also a Bitcoin gold type coin, and that was using Commerce Blocks technology, and they just did mainnet this week. So I've been fiddling around with nodes, and I still haven't set up my Snoddle Samurai though, so I'm wearing this to pay homage, and I'm going to set up sometimes. I've been doing a lot of administration and selling stuff and compacting all of my like servers into little Mac minis and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's been great having some downtime. But now I'm going to play and fiddle with nodes and stuff.
All right, Josh Gala.
We will see Brexit happening tonight. I'm here in the UK. We are how many hours? It just happened. No, I'm sorry.
About 45 minutes.
Happening in 45 minutes. 45 minutes. The virtual cut from the rest of the European Union will happen. Of course, what the folks need to remember is that we're all this is Europeans still around. The EU is something very different to Europe. The EU is a construct of sort of super state, so to say. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in this experiment of Britain leaving. I don't really have a horse in the race, more of on the anarchic side of the scale. But I like watching all this stuff happening. And so I'm here in the UK watching it happening. I went to a little vigil that they held down the road here for the EU. They held some candles and said, we still love you. All the guys that really fought for the last 3 years. And it was freezing cold in Brighton. But yeah, my prediction is that absolutely nothing will change really in the the clock will tick over and everyone go, oh, well, there you go. And the fisheries will be happy because they'll get their fishing back. And that's nothing really will happen.
Well, I hope that nothing will change. I was almost in the UK for 2 of the past previous Brexit deadlines. This one's the one. They're actually going to do it. Reminder to everyone, we're broadcasting on a very historic day here. It is January 31st, 2020, the day of Brexit and the day of pretty much the end of America. We're not going to be having witnesses or documents in the impeachment trial. By a vote of about 2 votes. We're going to be about 2 votes short of actually having a trial. So that's very disappointing. While Juan was talking about promoting our friends, shout out to DJ Booth, who's got a brand new website called Bitcoinal. It's a live price chart that changes themes and animations according to price trends. When the number goes up, the sun shines and there's summer on the mountaintops. When down, thick white snow covers the mountain peaks. And let's check it out if I can get back to full screen mode. Maybe it's zoomed a little bit. Oh, there it is. So Bitcoinal right there. Looks like we're in a winter time right now. We're down a little bit. DJ Booth also made a Tally Coin, which we've got right here. If you'd like to donate to support the show, 12 people have donated to support the show. Donate now with Bitcoin or Lightning to Tallycoin on your screen. Also, you can give us a thumbs up and a share down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell for notifications. It's funny. Twitter, Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube all have a double subscription system to make it that much harder on creators. Someone click subscribe. That's not enough. You have to click subscribe and click the bell if you really want to find out about a channel. They make it much harder. Give us a thumbs up and a share. I think that's going to be about it. You guys have anything more to say? Brexit in 45 minutes. The trial without witnesses or documents happening now in the corner of my screen. It's going to be divided by maybe 1 to 2 votes. Very, very consensus building. 1 to 2 votes. No witnesses. No evidence. Dan, your light continues to dominate.
My light's gone. One thing I will predict is that there's going to be probably a few other people like me who have got 1 hour and 42 minutes to submit their tax returns. So good luck, folks.
1 hour and 42 minutes to submit their tax return.
And you spent it on the show. Good on you. That's
exactly
what I
know.
like to see.
I'm literally shitting myself right now.
Well, very good. Dan's got to do his taxes. The UK is leaving the EU, and America is going to have a king. So, woo! All right, let's have a king. Until next time, bye.